And now it is my pleasure to call upon Professor Diego Garcia Sayan, the Special Rapporteur for the United Nations on the independence of the judiciary and of lawyers. Professor Sayan, please.
Good morning. I am delighted to be here today as a special rapporteur of the United Nations, invited to share some views with such a distinguished audience on the main major threats and challenges to independence of justice in the world. Let me express first my thanks for the kind invitation to be with you at this very important conference, and especially my deep appreciation to my friend, Professor Shimon Shetrit, who has performed and continues to perform a crucial role in building a better world based in rule of law and with an independent judiciary. He is having, as we are all perfectly aware, a crucial role in the preparation and guidance of this conference. A special appreciation, Shimon, for the invitation to be with all of you today. In 1994, the United Nations, through the then Human Rights Commission, noting both the increasing frequency of attacks against the independence of judges, lawyers, and court officials, and the link between the weakening of safeguards for the judiciary and lawyers and the gravity and frequency of violations of human rights, decided to appoint a special rapporteur on independence of judges and lawyers. Several rapporteurs have been appointed since then. By decision of the Council, this responsibility has been assigned to me since December 2016. Since then, I have devoted as a special rapporteur to identify and record attacks on the independence of the judiciary, lawyers, and court officials, and as well monitoring the compliance with international standards adopted by the United Nations, such as the UN Basic Principles on the Independence of the Judiciary adopted in 1985. They function as a guiding criterion to assist member states with the standards to guarantee and promote independence of the judiciary. That is, that the courts are accountable to law and free from interference by the executive, legislative branches, or by any de facto powers. I have also come to witness a crucial role that independent judges, courts, and prosecutors play in ensuring that victims of human rights violations obtain effective remedies and protection, and that perpetrators of human rights violations are brought to justice. I have extensively documented in my reports the contemporary challenges that judges, public prosecutors, and lawyers are currently facing around the world. The facts I have verified are leading to follow with concern the increasing authoritarian temptations and ongoing authoritarian political processes in different parts of the world. Distinguished colleagues, in some regions of the world, transitions to democracy have contributed to a significant improvement in conditions for independent justice and the free exercise for the legal professions, the rights of lawyers, and their bar associations. In several countries of Central and Eastern Europe, for example, conditions have evolved positively. The same in some Latin American countries that tend to leave behind obscure epochs of military dictatorships and absolute impunity. In parallel, however, in other countries, democratic rights are in regression and independent justice and the legal profession are under attack. The list is very long, unfortunately. The lack of judicial independence in such context makes it less likely that lawyers will be respected and valued and benefit from the concept of independence, let alone fight to uphold it. It's a dantesque, vicious cycle. Governmental control of the judiciary makes the legal profession less willing to challenge the government or undertake controversial or sensitive cases that may not sit well with a current political institution. Public attacks by political figures against the judiciary, as well as a threat of judicial persecution or intimidation, can further undermine judicial independence, in turn undermining as well the lawyer's ability or willingness to undertake certain cases or represent certain clients. Taking this major context into consideration, I would like to emphasize with you today my concerns on two matters which are having a big impact on independence of justice and which deserve special attention. One is the impact in the justice system from the corrosive effects of organized crime and high levels of corruption and the challenges this is placing on the justice systems. The other is the authoritarian wave covering several countries, including the democratic Europe, affecting judicial independence and specifically the role of lawyers. Dear participants in this conference, corruption has devastating effects on the judicial system as a whole, since it reduces public confidence in the administration of justice when it is perceived corrupt. Simultaneously, however, judges and prosecutors have been entrusted by international law and national regulations precisely with the responsibility of facing corruption so that they can also guarantee the rights of the society as a whole. From that perspective, the UN Convention Against Corruption is a fundamental treaty because judges and prosecutors appear to be the key actors for international cooperation between states against corruption. For instance, Article 11 requires that each state party take sufficient measures to strengthen the integrity of the judicial system and avoid any chance of corruption among its members, without prejudice to its independence. Hence, international cooperation between judges and prosecutors is of paramount importance to effectively face transnational corruption and organized crime. To perform that function, both judges and prosecutors must have the necessary protections recognized in international instruments to ensure their independence and impartiality vis-à-vis any interest that could affect them. In this context, international cooperation attains special attention, vitality, and viability in criminal matters, such, for instance, as extradition or international mutual legal assistance. To achieve such cooperation, independent judicial authorities are absolutely essential. The more independent the judiciary is, the less effective will corrupt practices be utilized by transnational organized crime groups, particularly in their interaction between organized crime members with the private sector or members of the governments in their attempt to influence politicians and the judiciary. Distinguished audience, as you all are perfectly aware, the free exercise of the legal profession and the protection of human rights are closely interconnected. The function of lawyers is not only a basic right for lawyers, but for all the society. It has to do with crucial aspects like access to justice and due process, and further, with separation of powers, checks, and balances. This is reflected in at least 4 aspects. First, access to a lawyer, which is an integral component of due process and fair trial. Second, to be effective, legal assistance has to be carried out independently, as is established in the UN Basic Principles and several recommendations in my reports and of my predecessors. Third, the principle of lawyer-client confidentiality. And fourth, free establishment and functioning of independent bar associations. Well, in this context, we have a problem. The world has a problem, which is the authoritarian wave covering several countries, including Europe. Lawyers are today threatened or under attack in Poland and Hungary, Turkey or the Philippines, El Salvador and Zimbabwe, Azerbaijan or Belarus. The list, unfortunately, is very long. In October 2018, I presented before the General Assembly of the UN my annual report highlighting the essential role that bar associations play in a democratic society and the crucial role the legal profession has to play in upholding rule of law, promoting human rights, and ensuring access to justice, as well as the importance of providing legal education and training to lawyers throughout their career by bar associations. I also gave examples of how bar associations contribute to public discussions on issues such as legal reform, the administration of justice, and the promotion and protection of human rights and the rule of law. In the same report and several statements, I have mentioned severe attacks against bar association as another way to undermine rule of law standards and the activity of independent lawyers. However, despite such a desolated landscape, we have also witnessed various situations which display the leading role of independent lawyers and bar associations to advocate for independent courts, and we have also seen the positive impact of such advocacy. When the justice system has been attacked by political power, in several situations, crucial bar associations in the world have sent their best lawyers to advocate and resist unconstitutional governmental actions. Dear colleagues, distinguished audience, in January next year, or this year, is beginning what will be my last year as special rapporteur. I am preparing my next annual report to be presented to the Human Rights Council on Endangered Lawyers. I want to express my appreciation to the contributions being received with responses to the questionnaire that has been published and their contribution in regional consultations with organizations and experts working on this area. Several regional meetings are taking place. Very valuable information and views are being received. It is a critical time for all citizens around the world, and especially lawyers, to remain vigilant and protect the independence of the judiciary. The privilege of practicing law carries with it the duty to protect the rule of law, separation of powers, which includes the defense of judicial independence. The judiciary around the world is threatened or under attack. This is a fact we cannot deny, unfortunately. I would like to finish my presentation, dear colleagues, by strongly encouraging the distinguished participants in this international conference to continue joining the efforts of the United Nations and fantastic institutions like the International Association of Judicial Independence and World Peace, or distinguished jurists and leaders and jurists like Shimon Siegfried, standing up against actions that pose serious internal or external threats against the independence of the judiciary around the world. Quote, protecting judicial independence, as Justice Sandra Day O'Connor said, is not easy. It requires work and diligence and attention. Close the quotation. Defending the judiciary, dear colleagues, is the duty of every lawyer. A strong, impartial, independent judiciary is too valuable to disregard. Thank you very much.